So the reason why in business you end up having to talk about evolution is because I need a business owner to understand you cannot trust your impulses, because your impulses may not have the growth of your business in mind. It may not reflect an understanding of consumer behavior. It may simply be something from our evolutionary past that was like akin to, it's better to jump away from the garden hose thinking that it might be a snake than it is to think that it might be a garden hose and it really is a snake. And once you understand, oh, okay, my mind is structured in a certain way, it has these insane biases, it tends me towards certain things, like the one that bothers me the absolute most is that when people have a feeling, it feels so real. And you never translate it into logic. So you're like, that thing makes me angry, therefore it is bad and it must be attacked, assailed, whatever. And if you run a business like that, if you cannot divorce yourself from, I have an impulse, stop that, insert conscious control, and then figure out sort of what the first principles logical buildup is, you can't solve a novel problem. And until you can solve a novel problem in an environment that changes as rapidly as our current world, you guys call it hyper novelty, if I remember correctly, you get into these crazy making scenarios. And so while it seems almost absurd to say that in some way we are fish, the key point that I take away from your book, and that just seems so powerful to recognize to me, is that you have to understand that it wasn't a perfect construction, at least not towards modern goals. Does that make sense to you guys?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, there are really two upshots to this claim that you are a fish, right? It's very hard for people to wrap their minds around it the first time. But once you realize that this is what we mean when we say, a whale is a mammal, that we are making a claim about the tree of life, then you can actually teach yourself how adaptive evolution works just by simply recognizing that snakes are the most speciose clade of legless lizards. Snakes are lizards, right? You don't think of it that way, but they are. Seals are bears that have returned to the sea, right? So once you understand that, all you have to do is say, actually, this is a that, it's unambiguous. And that means that adaptive evolution is the kind of process that can turn a bear into an aquatic creature like a seal, right? So that's
or a lizard into a snake,
right? Or a lizard into a snake.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that you mentioned, and you're right on the money, which is that if you use your intuitive, honed instincts in order to sort through novel problems, you will constantly upend yourself, because those instincts aren't built with those problems in mind. Now, the thing that's special for us humans is that we have an alternative. And the alternative, we argue in the second to last chapter of the book, is consciousness. That the correct tool for approaching novel problems is to promote whatever the underlying issue is to consciousness, to share it between individuals who likely have different experience, will see different components of it clearly, and to come to an emergent understanding of what the meaning of the problem is and what the most likely useful solution may be. So in some sense, really what you're saying is, in this context, you're trying to get people to get into their conscious mind and process this as a team activity rather than go with their gut, which is very likely wrong.